Hey, Joe.
Hi, Alex. Lovely to meet you.
And you, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Very good. How are you getting on?
Yeah, very well. Well, thanks so much for making the time to speak with me today. I'm
Pleasure.
really excited to hear all about your Dataworks story. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit and tell us a bit about like your background in recruitment and how Dataworks came to be?
Yeah, cool. I've been in recruitment for 16, 17 years now.
Wow.
I know, it shows how old I am, yeah, so I've been in agency recruitment mainly in the UK, but I was fortunate enough to kind of work and live overseas as well. So I spent a lot of time in Europe. I've also spent time in New York. So yeah, I had a really fortunate career working for a lot of agencies. And yeah, but my last couple of roles, so I joined an analytics business to when they were really early on, actually, to set their European business up, grew the business with actually one of my colleagues who I hired very early on. Yeah, and then obviously COVID hit. I joined a new business, and as with everything, kind of made me probably take stock of life, kind of what I was
Yeah.
really doing. Probably I think for a lot of people, it made that kind of probably your life journey a bit more kind of real. And yeah, so to the opportunity to set up an agency, and that was kind of where I find myself now with an old colleague of mine, actually someone I worked together for a number of years, someone I really kind of rated and valued, and we kind of had very similar views. So yeah, we put our heads together and thought, well, let's kind of take the plunge and do it.
Yeah. What do you think were the key drivers in starting your own business? Because it's quite a big decision to make.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the key driver. So I think, look, people have different motivations, and my colleague and my business partner Wesley, he's kind of, he doesn't have children. He's not necessarily where I am in my life, but I think what you want to do is make sure that the business can support what's important to you. And for me, it was kind of flexibility. It was also just being your own boss. I'd always managed myself and grown functions and grown teams, but fundamentally, we were still recruiting into a business that was owned by someone else. So yeah, certainly flexibility. I think I also took a lot, and we took a lot out of other companies that we really liked. Equally, we took quite a lot out of businesses that we really didn't like, and we thought, well, let's try and put this all together and create an environment that people really want to kind of come to work and perform and enjoy. So yeah, and obviously the COVID situation meant we could really put in place exactly kind of the blueprint for what kind of, I suppose, people want nowadays. They still want to come into an office per se. They still want to kind of benefit from team and environment, but we could really set that from day one, and that's kind of what's been really exciting. But on your point, yeah, really daunting at the same time.
Yeah. Did you have any doubts starting up then? Like, how did you overcome those doubts?
Yeah, I had a lot of doubts because I was in a position where my wife was pregnant, so she was 6 months pregnant.
Wow.
We were just about to embark on a major kind of project for the house, and as I say, my business partner, he was also he was working, he was happy, and I think, from my personal experience, yeah, I was absolutely kind of terrified about, what if it doesn't work? But my wife was, super supportive and kind of gave me that kind of shot on the arm and said, look, if you don't try, I think you'll always regret not trying. And that's why when we looked around and, when I kind of entertained a lot of conversations with other companies or kind of other platforms, it was really important I was working with someone that kind of bought into our vision as much as we kind of bought into them, I guess. But yeah, I think it was utterly terrifying. It still is day to day. I think every deal you do is the best thing in the world, but every deal that you don't do really hurts, because obviously that's kind of how we're gonna eat and live, I guess.
Yeah. And Dataworks is only what, 2.5 months old, roughly?
Correct. Yeah.
How have your first weeks been?
Yeah, good. I think it's interesting because I've been a manager and then a senior manager for probably about the last 4 or 5 years. So I've not really recruited myself, which has been just quite eye-opening, I guess. But yeah, it's been exciting. A lot of firsts, which was interesting. So with the platform, with the Recruit Hub, there's a lot of different tools and technologies and services. Obviously, new CRM, Some of the products I've used previously. So actually it wasn't as scary. But yeah, the first couple of weeks was kind of getting your head around, what we needed to do, what were the important things to focus on. But then after, I think, we were fortunate. We had, and I had a really couple of close, really clients that I knew, and then they trusted us to help them early on. So that meant the world to us, really. They kind of entrusted us with their business, and that meant we could kind of get off to a relatively good start. But we don't take anything for granted. It's long hours, hard work, but it's something which we're not afraid to do. It's exciting. I wouldn't change it for the world now, put it that way.
Yeah. And what does it feel like to own your own company now?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think it's funny because we don't really necessarily look at it like that way at the moment. Go, look, this is ours. It's ours, because we still, we're investing in hiring. We're still getting kind of our head around quite a lot of things at the moment. Even like we've not drawn a salary for God knows how long. So actually, when we start to pay ourselves, I think for that's when we probably will look at things and go, oh yeah, this is ours, because actually what's interesting is when you pay yourself, you think, oh, okay, we're actually paying ourselves. So yeah, no, it's really good. And actually, I think that in time we'll begin to see kind of the value of actually owning things. But yeah, it's really good fun. And I think it's, we're just being super tight with what we spend our money on, equally what we're investing in, really.
And what have you been most excited about since starting?
What's been the most, I suppose, the most fun part has been making decisions that really impact what we're doing. And I suppose what that means is like the territories we're recruiting into. We had a vision right at the beginning of what we were going to do, but actually there was an opportunity that presented itself in a territory with one of my old clients, and that meant my focus shifted, and actually that was the best thing to happen, because now we've tapped into a market and a territory that originally wasn't really on our plan, but is now a full sole focus, which that's exciting. But things like, even we've just found our first office, and making our first hires, and I think that's where for us, I'm not necessarily getting validation from someone else. It's actually like, well, we can do this. So making decisions that I would have typically made myself, but I'd always had to have gone to someone else to kind of get the final nod. And the same with Wesley, my colleague. He's in that same boat as Mill. He's making these decisions, and you live and die by them, I guess. We're not going to make them all. They're not all going to be right, let's be honest. But for now, it's just the thought of making a decision and going, okay, right, we can do this, and that's fun.
Having some faith.
Exactly.
And you're already trading in the US and in Europe. Was it always your plan to build an international customer base super early on, or was that more for the future?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, because actually that's my point I was just saying. When we originally went through the scoping, the plan, how it fitted into our lifestyle in terms of working hours. I'm very good at getting up in the morning, but I'm typically quite poor at night. I'm with kids and everything. You tend to go to bed quite early. But so our decision was always going to be focusing on Europe and the territories in Europe that I'd had experience in before. But then an opportunity presented itself with someone I knew, wanted some assistance in the US. And then by being super niche and super focused in the one technology stack, that started to gather some momentum. And the offset of that is, the fees in the US are great. It's really hard. It's really tricky. The hours are long because obviously work US hours. So I'm up early and work typically till 10, 11 p.m. at night, which is fine, because in the first year, 18 months, we need to throw everything at it. But yeah, the European piece will come in due course. But at the moment, the US is kind of where our focus has been, and it's paying dividends at the moment. It gives us that the time to kind of invest in other things, which equally is exciting as well.
Yeah. And when it came to launching the business, what different options did you look at?
Yeah, so obviously being in the space for a while in recruitment, when you begin to feel that you wanted to leave your previous company and you wanted to look at doing your own thing, you are, of course, then remarkably, everyone in the market seems to find out that you're looking, and you get tapped up from other agencies, and you get tapped up from other kind of investment vehicles or platforms who say that we can offer X, Y, Z. So for us, it was a consideration of, we wanted to focus on sales, because I've been in an operational strategic role for a number of years, and being frank, it's pretty dull. There's nothing, you move away from the job you fell in love with, which was the sales side of things and the meetings and doing business development. That was what you love. But we wanted a platform or a provider that could give us all the tools and technologies that we could effectively plug in and start billing. We also didn't necessarily want to have to align ourselves to lots of contracts and work with vendors and suppliers and start to negotiate rates. We just wanted that to be taken care of. We still fully are immersed in other relationships and suppliers as we see fit, but we just wanted to come in and turn things on and just crack on, really. And then the finance piece and the accounting piece was something I've been involved in before, but I'm not an accountant, and I wanted to know, the business accountancy side. So yeah, we spoke to a lot of kind of agency-led owners who wanted to invest in our kind of vision and startup. We spoke to pure kind of investors who wanted to give cash and invest into us growing, and also another kind of platform providers as well. But yeah, certainly we spoke to a lot of people, and I think there was kind of why we settled on Recruit Hub was because they were head and tails above anyone else we spoke to be fair.
And how did you find out about Recruit Hub?
So a really good friend of mine who runs a successful kind of rec-to-rec agency, I contacted her. She's kind of been a confidant of mine for a number of years, where I just kind of bend her ear on the market, and she's been in this space for a long time. I've worked with her, and I just called her up and said, this is what we're looking to do. And in 2 seconds, she'd already made an introduction to Recruit Hub. So they introduced us, and then Edmund and Simon picked the relationship up and kind of ran with it. And then I think probably about 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks of conversations. I was fortunate I was in my gardening leave period, so I could invest quite a lot of time into making sure things were what we wanted it to be. So yeah, it was an introduction, and yeah, that was kind of fortuitous, really, because they kind of were right for us, and I think we were right for them, obviously, because we're working with them. So,
and you sourced investment to launch Dataworks. What was that process like?
That was good, actually, and the reason for that, we had our own capital, but we always were mindful we didn't want to get into this journey as a lifestyle choice. Of course, it fits around your lifestyle in the sense that you can make the business work for you, but what we didn't want to do was put our entire life savings, risk, leverage yourself against your house. And when you, obviously for me, it was quite daunting, quite scary, the family and a wife that you always got to look after. But we secured investment purely with the objective of growth. So we're already benefiting from that because we've got 2 hires due to start with us in the next 4 weeks, and that's been facilitated by that investment. So actually for us, we've already generated revenue, which actually we could get by on ourselves, but in order to kind of properly grow, then we actually secured investment, and that process was good. To be fair, Simon worked all the models up. We looked at what the equities would look like, and they were definitely in line with what we'd kind of seen and we wanted elsewhere. It was actually more favourable than any other vehicle we spoke to. So Simon did a huge amount of work, and by the end of it, they worked. I think we've got about 10 investors, but they're not invested in the day-to-day operations. It's purely an angel investment group that invest into you, and then that supports that kind of growth, I guess.
Yeah. And were you happy with the deal that you structured, and why?
Yeah, we were happy with it. And the reason we're happy with it, we got a couple of offers or intents to offer from other similar kind of platforms. And in all honesty, the equity deals were horrendous. We would do all the heavy lifting, we would do everything, but our percentage share of the kind of equity was not worth doing, in all honesty, especially when we're the ones taking all the risk. But the Recruiter Hub platform and the investment was the most favourable. 2 reasons, really. It gave us complete control, which was absolutely key, not from a control freak perspective where we needed to be in control of everything, but we just didn't want to be managed, because that was just what's the point of doing this. So it was really good. Sorry?
defeat the purpose if you're being managed by others.
It would do, yeah. And I think, look, Wes and I have worked together for a number of years, and we've had some great experience. We've had some not so great experiences. And actually, one thing we just really believe in is, taking control of it and just backing yourself to make it successful. And actually, what Recruit Hub and the people behind them actually gave us was that confidence that we could, right, this is ours, let's go and do it. And that's quite liberating, I think.
Yeah. And how quickly were you able to start focusing on your sales and revenue building after your launch?
Day two,
Wow.
day one was kind of a weird one because it was a lot of firsts. So logging in, working out the CRM. Look, the training and support we got from Recruit Hub in terms of our induction on all the various tools was great. Chema and the team there supported us very well. They've got a very good kind of all-encompassing platform that effectively gives you all the webinars, gives you all the training, all the tools for pretty much everything. But let's be honest, it's all still new. So day one was a bit, wow, okay, let's get our LinkedIn statuses right. There was obviously a few technical issues with my internet here and a few others. But yeah, day two, we were already, working positions and, already on it. And that for us was quite valuable because Edmund, I think the most important bit of advice he just gave us was just, there's so much to focus on as a business owner, but all you have to focus on is the money-making activities. And that's really what we've been doing for the last 10 weeks solid. We've not done anything outside of getting CVs to jobs, booking interviews and making placements. And now we've got that time, we're probably going to give ourselves probably a few days now, just go, right, now we can get things ready for the inductions and the onboarding and ordering all the nice stuff for the office. So yeah, no, it was really good. And Wes as well, my colleague, he found that side really liberating, where he didn't have lots of admin to do or lots of kind of wasted efforts. It was purely on sales.
Yeah. And brand is really important for you and your partner. Do you feel you were able to execute your vision accurately?
Absolutely. I think what was really important, and only advice I give to anyone, is you've got to go in with super clear idea of your positioning in terms of what you're doing, who you're trying to appeal to, and what you want to be perceived as. And for us, I've worked, one of the previous companies I worked for, had a fantastic marketing function, invested heavily in marketing. The branding positioning was amazing, and actually we took a lot out of that company. And actually, there's other companies you've been in who don't really invest, or maybe the powers that be don't see the true value of marketing. So yeah, we're very clear on what we wanted the website to look for. Look, let's be frank, you look at other websites, you see what you like, what you don't like, make it yourself, make the positioning very clear, super niche, super focused. We kind of wanted to cover a few areas. I want to be professional, tech, but fun. And it was these kind of things that needed to permeate through the site. And we did a number of scoping sessions with Chema and the branding agency. And actually that was good because we didn't go back and forth a lot. And actually, I think the feedback to us, we have a very clear idea of what you want. And that was very, very important, rather than kind of sitting down and going, what color guidelines do we work with? What font do we want to look like? And now all our branding, our desktop, our browser, everything is just, our content we push out is all the same. And that for us is really important. Consistent, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What are Dataworks' unique selling points then? What makes you different?
Yeah, good question. Because I think when you can sit down kind of virtually, as I was with Wes, kind of saying, oh, what's going to make us different? It's very hard in this space to make yourself different and stand out because everyone's professing to do the same. But I think how niche we were within analytics was very unique, in the sense that we were taking analytics and taking it down even further to data engineering and data science. And that's two very competitive spaces, but very niche and very focused. We also had 3 very clear delivery and pricing models, which we did a lot of research and spoke to people in the sector and contacts I know about what they wanted their agencies to do. There's been a big influx of managed service recruitment recently. There's hundreds of them now in the UK, and we didn't want to become one of them because we didn't want to have a subscription-based model where typically we were working higher roles for really low fees and putting all your time in one client. We still wanted to work with multiple clients. So yeah, just the pricing model, the areas we worked in, also the locations. We work with in 2 areas, 2 regions at the moment, and that's 2 cities in the whole world, and that's all we do. And that for us is going to benefit us because we should hopefully know everyone in that space, rather than kind of the dog chasing a parked car analogy where you're just doing everything. And we just wanted to be really good in a really niche area.
Yeah. And you mentioned you're starting to hire within the next 4 weeks. What type of culture are you aiming to build within your business then?
Yes, it's interesting because we've got a second stage interview actually after this. They asked the same question, because it's a risk for any trainee experienced person to join our business, because we're unknown. They can't really go on Glassdoor and say what's it like. So they really are buying into the vision. The vision is complete entrepreneurialism, autonomous environment where you generally can own your market. You're going to be very niche and very focused, but where Wes and I have had experience in the past and successes is we then grew functions, and then underneath that you bring people underneath you, and then your career kind of grows. There's a lot of agencies out there offering probably bigger salaries and bigger shiny offices and all of that, but you're going to get genuine flexibility in terms of your working week. There's going to be 2 or 3 days a week from home every week, early finishes, generally investment into your well-being. So we do take. We've both had, let's be honest, a difficult year, 18 months of looking after yourself. And actually for us, it's really important that they can take lunch when they want. They can pretty much finish when they want within reason. And, if they want to do a personal appointment, it'll be up and no questions asked policy. It doesn't need to be signed by 7 people for you to leave early. It's like, we trust you, just get on with your work. So yeah, and that should hopefully pay dividends in the sense that people who join value the fact that we're giving them this kind of trust really early on.
Yeah. And what are your medium and long-term business goals?
So we're very much kind of headcount and NFI focused, because that's all I think you can kind of really focus on. So we've got very clear headcount targets. So within 12 months, we're going to be up to 6 people, and that's from May. So by this time in May, we should be at 6 heads, including myself and Wes. Obviously, we've got new offices. Year 2, we want to get to kind of 10, 12 heads, and the NFI jumps quite high. So we're pushing ourselves quite aggressively, but I think that's really important. So we're just linking it very much to kind of how much revenue we're generating, but equally kind of the headcount and the performance. Rather than having lots of heads not doing a lot, we want to get to a certain size where everyone's making money, everyone's having fun, where it's manageable. We have no real aspirations to be a 200-300 person business. It just doesn't interest us, because I think that comes with its own set of challenges. We want to have offices internationally, most probably in the US and maybe in Europe. So yeah, we're very clear on that. I think the first 12 months, however, will just throw everything at it, and then you get the position from a cash perspective to kind of make those more strategic decisions. Investing in marketing, for example, we want to have a dedicated marketing social team. We want to do a lot on that. So yeah, lots of exciting things. But on Edmund's point, for now, it's just money. Focus on generating cash and retaining cash in it. It's not spending on absolute frivolous, pointless things. It's just really invest heavily, because you can, you run the risk of buying branded everything, and you spend loads of money.
Excited.
Exactly, and it's exciting. We both nearly did that about a week ago, but then we pulled ourselves back and thought, hang on a minute, people aren't going to join us for a branded cup. They're not going to join. We don't need any of that. It's just like we can go to W. Smith and get your pen and paper. So yeah, I think there's lots of exciting things to do. And Wes, he's away this week on business, and even that side of things, he'll be working overseas, and then so that kind of side as well, full flexibility of our workforce down the line. That'd be a lovely point to have.
And what skills are you working on building up as founders? Do you and Wes have different natural skills regarding your strengths?
We definitely do, and I think it's a good point, because when we talked about this with the previous company we were speaking to, they gave us posed the same question about what's your job's going to look like in 5 years, the two of you. And Wes and I have a natural, we gravitate to different things. Wes is very strong on the CRM and the coding piece, and loves getting in, kind of looking at the terms, and loves all that piece. For a huge, invest heavily in that, and also the sales side, loves the training, loves the development. Me, very much on the finance piece, and looking at how we're generating money, looking at new markets, looking at the different kind of services we're offering, onboarding, trade, this kind of developing of our staff is important. So we've got a clear idea. I think it will all kind of, we're beginning to gravitate to certain things already, and that would be nice when we actually have people join us and say, right, speak to Wesley about this, or speak to Alex about this. So, but eventually we've got a very clear idea where we'll get to, but probably quite a few years off now, I guess.
Yeah. And what's the most exciting element of running your own company?
Making the decisions and standing by them. I think when you work for any other firm, and I've worked for really large businesses, so has Wesley, and I've worked for startups and grown big businesses for them. But you always make a decision, but it's never 100% your decision, because you've got someone else you've got to go and kind of just say, right, I've made a decision. Are you happy with that? And they're like, yes or no. But also, making those changes as well. We are the vision and the strategy of the business. So actually, if we don't agree with something, for example, launching in the US day one wasn't something we'd ever considered, but now we're there, that's my full focus, and my team will be focused on building out in that US market. Yes, the hours are challenging, but then we will just balance our week accordingly. So there's no pressure from anyone above me saying you've got to move to the US, because that'd be my own pressure. It's just, look, every decision you make is yours, and you live and die by those, I guess.
Yeah. And what advice would you have for recruiters considering setting up?
Do it, 100% do it. No, I kind of see a lot of things on LinkedIn at the moment. There's obviously a huge amount of people who set up on their own, but it still blows me away that a lot of the really good billers, and I know a lot of good, solid billers who don't have the confidence and maybe their own ability to do it on their own, or maybe don't know that there's platforms out like Recruit Hub who can take away a lot of the pain, because it is very daunting, when you take yourself away from it. As I say, you're a principal consultant, you've never worked in new finance or P&Ls or supply contracts or onboarding or contract, anything. You can look at it and think, Jesus, how am I going to do this? It's going to take too much time. But I stand by it that you should do it, because if you're billing any figure north of 100, 150k a year for your current employer, I guarantee you're going to make 3-4 times more money for yourself, and you can manage your week as you see fit. I'm definitely in that do it camp. And actually, I've spoken to a number of people saying, why aren't you doing it? It's always it's not a good time. And let's be honest, I was having a baby, doing a house renovation, just got COVID, and it wasn't great timing for me, but I did it because I just knew I'd regret it. But I had a really supportive wife behind me going, just do it. Why are you waiting? And I thought, sod it, I'm going to do it. So I think it's the market's there. And let's be honest, it's easier to manage yourself than kind of 10, 15 people in your team anyway.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so
Pleasure.
great hearing about your Dataworks story, and what a success it's been so far.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.